What's the scariest fact you know? You can have rabies for years before it even shows symptoms, then one day you get a headache, and it's a death sentence from there. Rabies is so terrifying even though the odds are low of catching it. I knew someone who used to be a public health inspector. He said there was a lady where they found a bat living in her house, and they made her go get a physical to check for bite marks. The doctor actually found bat bites on her. I know the chances of her getting rabies were still low, but imagine a bat biting you for some fucking reason while you're asleep and you don't even know it. Your skin is not 100% attached to your body. With enough air pressure beneath the skin, your body will become a balloon with a solid core and it will be excruciating before the embolism kills you. Geologist here. Don't jump into lava. You're mostly water. And lava doesn't just dissolve you. A brain aneurysm can hit you anytime, anywhere, with next to no warning. Source: watching my otherwise healthy grandma go from happily singing and making dinner to crying about the worst pain she had ever been in to being a vegetable in less than an hour. My coworker got a major migraine and started feeling very dizzy while at work. I helped her get a cab to go home, where her husband was, and she ended up going to the hospital that night for an emergency surgery. She was lucky to make it. Spent a month recovering at the hospital. There will be a time when you're thought of for the last time. There's an old Arab saying, a person dies twice. Once when they die and once when the living stop remembering them. A moose can swim about 16 feet 5 meters underwater, which is why orcas are natural predators of them. Imagine you're diving underwater, suddenly there's a moose sitting at the bottom eating sea grass, then it gets eaten by an orca. That would be terrifying. Prion diseases exist. They're not bacteria or viruses, there isn't an infection, per se, to attack. They're basically an alternate form of protein, and we can't stop them. What's worse, there's no cleaning regime that can eradicate those proteins. They can be sitting in a field somewhere for a decade and some random cow chews a blade of grass with it, then you eat that cow and now you're fucked. Prions are misfolded proteins, which makes them the origami of diseases. Totally blind people don't see black, they don't see at all. For some reason that's always frightened me. An interesting fact is that there's never been a blind, from birth, person diagnosed with schizophrenia. Some deaf schizophrenic people see disjointed hands instead of auditory hallucinations. That you really do need 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day. Even at 6 hours, the lack of sleep decreases efficiency, productivity, and increases risk of developing dementia and Alzheimer's. Furthermore, it weakens the immune system and handicaps the body's ability to destroy cancer cells, which therefore increases risk of cancers of the breast, colon, ovaries, and prostate. The scary part of it is that you can't get back all the sleep that you lose out on because sleep efficiency decreases, so trying to catch up on the weekends isn't really making up for what you lost throughout the week. Ironically, those who say, I can sleep when I'm dead, will end up dead quicker because of lack of sleep over time. Majority of child abuse happens by people we know well, not by strangers. The fact that rabbits eat their babies when they know they won't survive. Almost all animals do, in a sense it's humane. Cats will just leave their sick babies to the wild to starve to death, rot to death, or get picked apart to death by bugs. I'd take the mom doing the deed over hours of ants any day. Statistically, at least one pedophile has seen this very post. Statistically, at least one person who has committed a crime against humanity has seen this very post. I have once walked through red lights when there were no cars around. Any AI smart enough to pass the Turing test would probably also be smart enough to intentionally fail it. There's a plant that grows in Australia called the Gympie Gympie. Touching the plant will result in an unbearable pain because of the small needles on the plant. The pain is so unbearable people and animals killed themselves because of it. There's also a plant called hogweed that can cause severe burns and blisters that can scar you for life. There was a man that used that first one as toilet paper. If I remember right, he shot himself 3 days later. You've never seen your own face, just reflections and pictures. Also, everyone else has a more accurate perception of your appearance than you do. Somehow this one's oddly comforting. No one's really as bad looking as they think they are for this reason. Also remember, You aren't necessarily your own type. So even what you can perceive doesn't matter because the right person has different tastes if they chose you. If a bear attacks, it won't kill you immediately, it'll just start eating. This is true of most wild animals. They don't care if we're alive, just that we aren't able to fight back. Bears are my one biggest fear. They run fast AF. They climb. And it's not a quick death. They'll eat an arm and leave. Come back later when they're hungry. If a bear eats my arm, I'm not going to wait around and see if he comes back for more. 70 to 80% of the population believe they are smarter than the average person. It really explains a lot. 80% of Soviet males born in 1923 died in World War II. There's a haunted house called the McCamey Manor. People there can be subjected to hours of torture, abuse, and humiliation. You need to sign a 40-page waiver to be let in, and the only cost is a single can of dog food. In this waiver, it states that the owner will not let you out unless you are having a serious mental crisis, or are suffering from near-fatal bodily harm. Panic attacks do not count, even severe ones. There is a $20,000 reward for those who finish, but nobody has ever completed it. The longest anyone has lasted was 6 hours, and it can be as long as 10 hours. If you really want to see the footage, there are plenty of videos of the torture on YouTube. Just be wary, as these videos are highly disturbing. All communication in the United States is controlled by fewer than 10 companies. All major news in the US is controlled by 5 companies, including Disney and Comcast. When Walt Disney died, he left a note on his desk saying, "Kill Goofy," and nobody knows why. Dunno if that fact is real, but Walt didn't like Goofy. Goofy was created by an animator who later led demonstrations against Disney. Walt never forgave him. That a large number of asteroids and comets that could potentially hit Earth directly have not even been discovered as of yet, and our ability to actually stop a large object traveling stupidly fast is much worse than depicted in films. The reason they don't hit Earth is cause Jupiter usually pulls them towards itself with its massive gravitational field. This may sound stupid, but I think one of the scariest facts I know is the fact that you can find so much sick and depraved shit on the internet with just a few clicks of a button. If I, or hell, anyone wanted to find some cartel beheadings or some shit, bam, easy. The internet is fucked up, man. When I was young and dumb, I basically had an ongoing contest with my friends to find the most disturbing shit we could on the internet. I started this at about 12. This went on for years and I was on underground sites daily. I am positively this severely damaged me mentally, and I have some PTSD symptoms from some of the things I found. At the time I felt unaffected, but the more time that passes, the more horrific imagery pops back into my head. Having it between the screen and me provided some sort of mental barrier, but in time that has faded and I'm left with all these broken thoughts and images of the deepest, darkest depravity you could imagine. It hurts me deeply and I wish I hadn't inflicted it onto myself. There is plastic everywhere from the highest mountains to the deepest trench in the ocean. It's estimated that by 2050 there will be more plastic than fish in the ocean. And it is bad for us, likely causing fertility problems and reducing penis size. If you commit a murder in the United States, the chances that you will be arrested and convicted for it is less than 50%. It's actually much less than that if it's a random killing. If you choose to be cremated, your ashes aren't all of your ashes, there's a bit of the last guy in there with ya. I wanna have a cremation buddy. I spent today with my son driving to find the perfect Texas wildflower spot to spread some of my mom's ashes. It was a heavy day. Your comment just made me giggle so much. Perfect release. Thank you. Right now it is more probable than not that someone in the world is aware during their surgery. My gran had her hip replacement whilst completely awake. She had an epidural so she could watch. Yep. I had a friend who was a med student, and when she got knee surgery, she found a surgeon that would let her remain alert. During the surgery, the surgeon asked, "Hey T, do you need to breathe?" No, T said. The surgeon says, "Okay T, it looks like the anesthesia is impacting your breathing reflex a bit. See the blood oxygen gauge? I want you to take a deep breath when that puppy gets down to about 85, alrighty." T did just fine, and totally enjoyed her surgery, that's no joke. She was that kind of geek. Geologists here, the Earth's magnetic poles, places your compass point to, are moving at an alarming rate. While they switch, think north compass arrow will point south. Every 10,000 years or so, we are overdue for a switch, so like happy 2021 y'all. Also, the supervolcano under Yellowstone does technically have the firepower to wipe out much of life on planet Earth, but it's not overdue like many people try to claim it is. That's just fear-mongering. Also, there was a point in the past during the Ice Age, I think, where less than 2,000 humans were alive. If it would have been modern humans, we would have to put ourselves on the endangered species list. What's the scariest fact you know? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.